Remember the old days, anything can happen in the next half hour. In fact, I've got that ringtone. One of my things. Hi, good afternoon, one and all. It's 5 o'clock. I'm prepared to open the meeting. I shall do the evacuation procedure as per usual. A fire drill is not expected, so if the alarm sounds, please evacuate the building quickly and calmly. Please use the stairs and do not use the lifts. Once outside the building, please gather opposite the Yorkshire Bank on the opposite side of the road. Exit by the door you came in, or by the fire exits who are clearly indicated by the standard green exit signs. If you need any assistance in evacuating the building, please make yourself known to a member of the staff. Please also make sure your mobile phones are turned off or set to silent. And as usual, this meeting will be recorded for future broadcasts. Okay. Item number 2, apologies. Apologies from Councillor Pomfret. Substitute is Councillor Rodkin. I always get your name wrong. Councillor Shepherd is substitute. Guess what? Councillor Watkins. And substitute from, no substitute, but apologies from Mrs. D. Ross. Declarations of interest, not included in the schedules, of course. None? Okay. At this point we have 2 public speakers. Councillor Brown, if you wish to come to the front, by all means do so.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the committee for allowing me to speak here tonight. Councillors and members of the public have got concerns about this particular contract and the way it's been handled so far. Councillors in particular, I'm pretty dismayed that we've not been supplied with details of what's intended in this contract in advance, and that elements of it have been shrouded in confidentiality that perhaps should be made public to councillors at the very least. I would also ask that as a condition of this contract, that once it's agreed, that the standards are made public and available to members of the public easily on the website, if nothing else, so that they can have certainty about what's expected of the contractor, so that they have some method of perhaps interrogating a schedule of when works are expected to be carried out. We can reduce complaints about things like grass cutting and things if the public know that an area of grass, for example, in their area is going to be cut in a couple of days' time, instead of wondering what's happening, not having any information, and then phoning up to make a complaint, which gets recorded, somebody has to action, somebody has to deal with, and all the time the work's scheduled to be carried out very soon. So I think it's important, in the interests of transparency and in good council operation, that we have that information available publicly. Mentioning complaints, I think that we need some proper and transparent method of complaint available to the public as well. The fact that they have to phone up and specifically request something be made a complaint is actually, to my mind, not good enough. Any expression of dissatisfaction, however made, should be treated as a complaint and then investigated, and if found to be not justified, then it isn't a complaint. We also need some sort of proper definition, industry-wide acceptable standard of what constitutes poor performance. The current contract, where the contractor can be allowed to get away with perhaps not adhering to what's the standard on a third of occasions, and it still not be deemed poor performance, is perhaps not good enough. I would expect to see something that's a lot more challenging than that, and perhaps something that's progressively more challenging, so the standards that have to be met in year 1 are not good enough for year 2, the same as would be in any other outside industry. Finally, I'd like to echo something that Councillor Tromans mentioned at the last OSP relating to Glendale, whereby if we're going to have a secondary list of contractors to take over in the event of poor performance, that this is identified at this stage and made publicly known, so that we do have a backup in the event of poor performance. Thank you, Chair.
Any points of clarification from the panel?
Sorry.
Yes, please, Chair.
Yeah.
Councillor,
Yes.
when you put the previous contract out in 2008, did you put all of those recommendations in the contract at that time?
As you well know, we were in a different financial situation at the time, and it was an early contract, and we were following up on a contract that it was already being let by the previous administration. So if we didn't, then one of the things we do going forward is we learn from
And
history.
the answer is no.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Councillor
Yeah.
Watkins, point of
Chris.
clarification?
I just, on the complaints,
Yes.
what is it you understand we can, well, us
Well,
and the
it-
public can do as
Okay,
in complaints?
at the moment, from dealing with this, if I call in a problem as a councillor, it doesn't get recorded as a complaint. I have to go through the call centre, have it recorded as a complaint, and I have to specify that I want it recording as a complaint. Now, in almost any other industry, any expression of dissatisfaction, however made, whether it's in writing, email, phone call, that's treated as a complaint until it's proven not to be a complaint. And that way you get a realistic definition of the level of satisfaction of a service from the public.
But are you aware that your residents can complain through?
Of course.
Because,
Yeah, of course.
Okay. As long as that.
It's just that the way we do it at the moment means that if somebody phones up, they might be dissatisfied, but unless they actually say that they want it recording as a complaint, it's just a comment. It's the same with the cards that we put out. Have we not heard of SurveyMonkey and things like that to ask people to respond? Anything else?
Yeah, no, that's it.
Thank you.
Any other points of clarification? Councillor Walmsley?
Thank you, Chair. You've just mentioned the cards and complaints, and I think it's something that's really worth drilling down into. But you've talked about the fact that you have to jump through hoops to make a complaint.
Yeah.
Should that not be the same for satisfaction? We've got essentially situations here where you don't return this card, it's deemed that you're satisfied with the service.
Yeah, absolutely. The default setting for no response is no response. But yet we claim that to be satisfied. Well, it's not.
Is this a matter, is this under this item, Chair?
I'm trying to answer
You're
the question,
not-
I'm sorry.
You're into specifications of part of the contract, and this is not that meeting.
Apologies, Chair, I was simply trying to
I'm
answer the
just saying
question that was
that
asked.
this is not that meeting. Okay, any other points of clarification? No? Councillor Condica?
Thank you.
Thank you. I attended the Cabinet meeting, and obviously there's a different panel here, so I'll repeat some of the things I said. Absolutely key is openness, transparency and ease of use from the public. And one thing that would make it really useful is the contract specification and the map, a GIS as they call them, to be actually publicly available, so people can see on the map of St Nicholas Park or Poplar or Abbey Green which bits are being maintained to what standards under the council, which bits aren't actually the council's responsibility, because obviously people will ask for something to be done and it may be land still owned by a developer or land owned by the county council. So we do need to go forward in a lot more internet savvy way and actually have a decent electronic map, Google Map or whoever, that people can click on, see what grass cut 10 times a year, or this is beds only trimmed back every 2 years. That public information, absolutely invaluable. Also, we have for potholes and road defects, Fix My Street. So the advantage of that is if a person clicks on the map and says there's a pothole or a lamp post that's out, everyone else can see that's been recorded. If we have that for grounds maintenance, we are going to get a situation where councillors and other members of the public can see if something's already been reported and also see if things have been reported 3 or 4 weeks ago. So it gives a massive transparency to the system. I know elsewhere in the country there's been massive problems with contracts. secrecy. I mean, Sheffield's a classic example with their PFI scheme for trees and road maintenance. We need to go the opposite way. We need openness, transparency. We also in this contract currently have things like putting the Christmas decorations in and out, all that stuff, which it seems to be a real money maker for Glendale in the quiet season. And I do hope we actually get better transparency and potentially tendering out that work separately to get a better deal.
That,
And
yeah, again, councillor, that's not part of this meeting.
well,
It's already been said, there will be a specific meeting, special meeting called by the portfolio holder for all members when the specifications for the new contract are up and they can see it as openly as possible. But that is not today's meeting.
with respect, Chair, this meeting is about the process going forwards, and that is part of it. And finally, I noticed that the housing department at the moment has to do some work, ground maintenance work, separately because of Glendale's failures. And I do hope we're a lot more transparent with what's going on. You know, we have departments in this council doing landscaping work, I assume, housing department, which is going totally separate to Glendale.
Okay? Any point of clarification for the councillor? No? Thank you, councillor. At this point, I would like to move item number 5, the exclusion of the public and press. Resolved that under section 100A, paragraph 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public and press are excluded at the meeting during the consideration of the following items. It has been likely that there will be disclosure of exempt information of the specific description specified in paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A of the Act. Can I have a seconder for that?
Seconded.
All in favour? Okay. Thank you. So, members of the public, bye.